The public phase of the impeachment inquiry is moving full speed ahead with 8 witnesses lined up to testify before investigators and the American people this week. But one potential witness not on the schedule is overshadowing the rest. In a series of tweets this morning, President Trump said that he likes the idea of sharing his side of the story and will, quote, strongly consider Nancy Pelosi's suggestion that he provide testimony to lawmakers. But whether or not he weighs in officially, it's clear Donald Trump will still make his voice heard during the hearings, like he did on Friday, as his former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, was telling lawmakers how she felt when President Trump told the president of Ukraine that she was, quote, going to go through some things.
She's going to go through some things. It didn't sound good. It sounded like a threat.
In the middle of that, Trump tweeted out, everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad. She started off in Somalia. How did that go? To Democrats, it was witness tampering. To Republicans, much ado about nothing.
The president, while Ambassador Yovanovitch was testifying, sent out a defamatory tweet trying to destroy her reputation. That's witness intimidation. Innocent people don't do that.
Yeah, look, the president communicates in ways that sometimes I wouldn't. I was asked about this earlier and saying intimidation, and I just think it's nonsense. She's an extraordinarily strong and powerful individual. I really doubt she's intimidated by a single tweet.
Whether it's intimidation or not, Donald Trump's not done attacking impeachment witnesses on Twitter. Over the weekend, he turned his attention to Jennifer Williams, a State Department official who works with Vice President Mike Pence, who's set to testify publicly tomorrow. That is Williams, not Pence. Investigators released her original testimony in which she called Trump's call with the Ukrainian president unusual and inappropriate. Then yesterday, Trump tweeted, tell Jennifer Williams, whoever that is, to read both transcripts of the presidential calls and see the just-released statement from Ukraine. Then she should meet with the other never-Trumpers, who I don't know and mostly never even heard of, and work out a better presidential attack. Perhaps she will. By the way, just like Secretary of State Pompeo failed to defend Yovanovitch, Vice President Pence said nothing about his boss's verbal assault on Williams. Joining me to discuss are Boston City Councilor Lydia Edwards. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And former Assistant U.S. Attorney Dan Small, now partner at Holland & Knight, and the only lawyer in America we believe to have defended 2 governors on corruption charges. We'll never give that up, Dan. Good to see you.
Great to
and
be
former law partners, law associates or something, which I didn't know. Okay, so Trump says he may testify. Forget whether he's serious or not. If you were his lawyer, would you let him even consider testifying in this proceeding?
If I were his lawyer, he wouldn't be able to tweet at this point. I mean, what he should know by now is his comments, his marketing, his campaigning, his comments have hurt him before in court when it came to those bans and whether they were racially motivated or not. So at this particular point, if I was his lawyer, I would tell him to stop tweeting and that, no, he should not be
How
testifying.
about you?
Absolutely. And the prosecutor,
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why?
In the prosecutor's closing argument on Roger Stone's case last week, he said, I get it, Twitter, everything goes, but in our institutions of government, truth still matters. That was Stone's problem. He had no concept of the truth. That's the president's problem.
I'm going to get to Stone in a couple of minutes. Obviously, a huge partisan divide in Congress, and obviously the jury there is the United States Senate, primarily Republicans. Let's assume the jury was a jury like you guys have spent your career appearing in front of. I know it's early. We're just through 2 days of hearings. What was the reaction 2 days in? How would you assess how that jury was looking at the case against Donald Trump if this is a courtroom rather than the House of Representatives, Dan?
Well, we don't have to guess. 12 good jurors just evaluated a very similar case with Roger Stone. Witness intimidation, lying to Congress, and partaking in this conspiracy.
Only 8 hours they were deliberating,
Yeah.
by the way, guilty
Yeah.
on all 7
On all
counts.
counts.
Do you agree? I mean, based on 2 days, again, I know it's a political jury. It's not, well, it's the American people too, not a jury like you guys used to practice in front of. But what's your take about the case against Trump in that context?
Well, I think it is a political jury, but at the end of the day, they're hearing things at intimate levels that a lot of us don't through the tweets and through the campaign. Again, I feel that the president is all about marketing and campaigning. That's what he's good at, blustering. And now we're hearing directly from folks who have no political motive, who have no reason to do this or to say these things or put their careers at risk.
Even though he calls them never-Trumpers based on no evidence.
Well, that's character assassination, certainly trying to make them seem less credible. But at the end of the day, hearing directly from career, diplomats who've been there for decades, to hear from her, about what is happening and how she feels. I think it gets beyond the politics after a certain point.
Let's stay with her a minute. You talked about his tweets as campaigning, politicking, whatever. That's what I assume the Republicans would call that alleged witness intimidation. The Democrats obviously are calling it that. They're thinking about whether or not it should be added to the articles of impeachment. I mean, even though it was offensive and pathetically poor judgment, in my estimation, is that really an example of witness intimidation, what he said about Yovanovitch? By the way, she would not even have known about it were it not for the fact that Adam Schiff read it to her.
Right. Well, I think the fact of the matter is it's also unprecedented that the president is going after individuals, period. Whether it's his campaigning or the fact that he lacks class in the way he talks about people. This is unprecedented. I am targeting you because you are targeting me. It looks tit for tat. It doesn't feel safe.
But it just looks like, is it witness intimidation in a classic sense? I mean, would you charge it as a former U.S. attorney?
Yes, but not for Yovanovitch.
For whom?
For the next witness. The point is, this is a pattern of intimidating people and making sure everyone knows, if you testify against me, I am the President of the United States, and I'm going to use my power against you. That's witness
So it's
intimidation.
prospective. Has anyone ever been charged for that?
Oh, absolutely.
For what impact their statements may have
For
on the
the
next
impact,
witness?
for obstruction of justice, trying to impact the next witness.
Okay, you wanted to talk about Roger Stone. Let's get there. Let's get through Devin Nunes. Here's the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee while Kent and Taylor were testifying before them. Here's Nunes.
The Russia hoax has ended, and you've been cast in the low-rent Ukrainian sequel.
Not so fast, actually, it turns out. Maybe that was true when he said it, but as you've said several times now, Roger Stone was convicted. He said to me in an email, you didn't think Clarence Darrow could have gotten him off. Well, let me tell you, 8 hours is pretty fast. The suggestion here is that conviction is evidence that Donald Trump lied in his written statements to Mueller.
Yes.
Do you reach that conclusion? Basically, what Trump was saying in those statements, I should make clear, is that he doesn't remember any conversations with Roger Stone about WikiLeaks. Apparently, there were at least several.
There were a number of conversations. It's not easy to convict someone for saying, I don't recall, but you can do it. I mean, if the conversations were so repetitive and so dramatic as they were, then, yeah, it raises serious questions as to the president lying to Congress.
Does it rise to the levels of impeachable offense?
We'll see.
Meaning you have doubts about it, obviously.
Well, I wouldn't say that I have doubts, but I think it's not just going to be this that we're looking at. It's a combination of testimony over several months of individuals that you build a case on. So there is no one silver bullet that's going to get us there.
Okay, let's go back to your trial experience with Sondland. Sondland is testifying Wednesday, the ambassador to the EU, a guy who is, it's going to be hard to call never Trumper in light of the fact that he gave $1 million to the inauguration. But I think to just give people a brief summary, there was no quid pro quo before there was one. Then he revised his testimony. He forgot he had spoken to any of the Ukrainians. And apparently, since it's not mentioned in either testimony, he had forgotten that he was speaking to Donald Trump on the phone, which was overheard by this David Holmes, an assistant to Ambassador Taylor. And then we find out from Tim Morrison's deposition, released a national security official, it wasn't just once that he was speaking to Donald Trump about Ukraine and this, what used to be quid pro quo, but is now called bribery by the Democrats, but at least on five different occasions. You're the Democrats, and you've had an easy go so far. Virtually every one of the public witnesses has wanted to say something that is in the interests of the Democrats' cause. The first thing the Republicans are going to do with this guy is say, totally not credible. He's had a different story every single day. I don't care whether he gave $1 million to Trump or not. What do you do to shore up his credibility before the Republicans try to shed him on Wednesday?
Well, you ask him to talk about that donation. You ask him to talk about his relationship with Trump. You ask him to talk about his prior support for him. And you get him to establish that he's not there as a never Trumper, or he's not there to bring down anybody, but basically put it out there on the cards. Your relationship is what it is.
And how do you convince, though, the jury, the American people, that he's not a liar when I assume Steve Castor, whoever asked the questions for the Republican, is going to say, well, here's your story on the first day, here's your story on the second day, which was different, and then on the third day, you apparently forgot everything about all these phone calls. Why should anybody believe you, Ambassador?
Well, we had a saying when I was a prosecutor that in a conspiracy with the devil, there are very few angels. The guy is not an angel, But
He's
Lydia's
not a
absolutely,
mobster either.
He's not a mobster. Lydia's right. You can show he had no motive to lie, and you can show he had no reason to lie, and you can show that he screwed up. And people make mistakes.
And if you're the Democrats, do you probe into why he did lie if you don't know what the answer to the question is going to be? I remember that we all learned first day in law school, don't ask a question to which you don't know an answer. I don't think the Democrats do know what his answer is going to be. Do you just shy away from that?
I would not ask a question. I would not ask a why question I don't know the answer to, but I assume they have some idea of what the answer is.
Dan, thanks. Good to see you.
My pleasure.
Counselor, thanks so much.
Thank you very
Pleasure
much.
to see you. Thank you.